The broadcast of the regular meeting of the Policy and Government Oversight Committee will now begin.
Good afternoon. My name is Andrea Jenkins. I am the chair of the Policy and Government Oversight Committee. I will call to order our regular committee meeting for Wednesday, December 16th. I'd also note that for the record, this meeting has remote participation by council members and city staff as authorized under the Minnesota Open Meeting Law, Section 13D.021, due to the declared state of local public health emergency. At this time, I will ask the clerk to call the roll to verify the presence of a quorum.
Councilmember Wright. Gordon.
I'm here.
Fletcher.
Here.
Cunningham.
Present.
Osmond.
Here.
Goodman.
Present.
Cano. Bender.
Here.
Schrader.
Here.
Johnson. Palmisano.
Present.
Councilmember Wright. Cano. Johnson. Vice Chair Ellison.
Present.
Chair Jenkins.
Here.
There are 10 members present.
Let the record reflect that we do have a quorum. And I will just note for the public that I heard from council members Reich and Cano, who both had other appointments dealing with city business, and so they are unable to join us for a committee today. Colleagues, we have 21 items on today's agenda, all on the consent agenda. Item number 1 is designating polling places for the 2021 municipal election. Item number 2 is setting a public hearing for January 13th, 2021 to consider the appointment of members to the Ethical Practices Board. Item number 3 is approving the 2021 legislative agenda and policy positions. Item number 4 is approving city council appointments to the Southside Green Zone for the unexpired terms beginning April 1st, 2019 and ending March 31st, 2021. The appointees are listed on this agenda. Item number 5 is receiving and filing a report on appointments to the Northside Green Zone Task Force 2021 through 2022. Items 6 through 13 are legal settlements, the details of which are listed on the agenda. Items 14 and 15 are contract amendments related to the public service building project, the details of which are listed on the agenda. Item number 16 is a contract amendment with Barrett Americas Inc. for additional licensing associated with the 311's Lagan system. Item number 17 is a contract amendment with Everlaw Inc. to allow for additional usage of its e-discovery and redaction software. Item 18 is accepting the sole bid of Carlson Printing to furnish envelopes and letterhead as needed by city departments. Item number 19 is authorizing a no-cost representation engagement agreement with Jones Day for legal representation in matters relating to labor negotiations and employment labor law litigation, and passage of a resolution accepting the donation from Jones Day. Item number 20 relates to the legislative contracts with Friends in Law and Policy Group, Fletcher and Byron Environment and Primacy Strategy Group. Item number 21 is authorizing agreements with U.S. Solar Impact Power Solutions and Nokomis Energy for annual community solar garden subscriptions. Would any of my colleagues like to wish to pull any items from today's consent agenda? And I see Council Member Gordon is in queue. Councilmember Gordon.
Yeah, I'd like to pull 19 for a brief discussion, or maybe longer. That's the Jones Day gift acceptance.
Yes. Are there any other items, colleagues? Seeing none, I will go ahead and ask the clerk to call the roll on the consent items, noting that number 19 has been pulled for discussion.
Councilmember Wright. Gordon.
Aye.
Fletcher.
Aye.
Cunningham.
Aye.
Osmond.
Aye.
Goodman.
Aye.
Cano. Bender.
Aye.
Schrader.
Aye.
Palmisano.
Aye.
Johnson. Vice Chair Ellison.
Aye.
Chair Jenkins.
Aye.
There are 10 ayes.
That passes, and we will commence with discussion on item number 19. Councilmember Gordon, did you want to start that off?
Sure. You know, this, it looks like a great offer. It looks like this is a really reputable, or at least fairly famous international law firm. But in the course of the last few days, doing some of my due diligence, and then some of the contacts that I've gotten has certainly raised concerns with me. My understanding is this law firm reached out to us to give us, to offer to do this work for us. I do see how some expertise in this area could be incredibly helpful. And I also understand they've done some webinars that seem to be supportive, but they've also done lots of other work. I'm inclined not to support this today. I also, though, been working around maybe if there was a staff direction or some conditions, I could be more supportive of this. And so I've been in conversations with the city attorney's office about a possible staff direction that might add some comfort to me. I'm not prepared to move that today. And I'm open to hearing from all of you about other alternatives, but I'm inclined to vote no today and then work hard tomorrow to develop some language that would bring me a little bit more comfort if it looks like this is supported and is moved forward with recommendation, of course, to help me and maybe also help reassure the public that will be some transparency and oversight about what's happening with this. So I welcome other comments and I'll be listening. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Gordon. Next in queue is Councilmember Fletcher.
Thank you, Chair Jenkins. So I am somewhat reluctantly a no vote on this today, and I would understand why my colleagues might go either direction on this. And the really good things about this proposal, it is good to see the city attorney actively looking at our labor relations strategy with the Police Federation. It is good to see our city attorney looking for resources and partnerships. I don't want this to be perceived in any way as undermining either of those things, but I also want to acknowledge that especially legal work often does happen without a lot of transparency under the shield of attorney-client privilege. It's one of the things that is often less public and less visible. And people have raised concerns about this firm. And I'm not naive to think that any big firm that has the resources to offer us pro bono work will have worked for clients that we might not agree with and represented positions that we might not agree with. But I do think it's very hard during the period of presidential transition, while we're waiting for President-elect Biden to be sworn in, to enter into a relationship with and formalize a relationship with a firm that was involved in raising litigation around election procedures in Pennsylvania. And there has been an alarming effort to undermine faith in our democracy in this country. I don't think Jones Day was the biggest contributor to that or the worst contributor to that in their work for the Pennsylvania GOP. But I do think it doesn't feel right. It doesn't sit right with me. And I've heard from some constituents who it doesn't sit right with to vote to initiate this relationship at this time. I think that there should be reputational consequences for participating in that kind of action. And I think that we should take that seriously. So I understand colleagues weighing the pros and cons of this. And I think, honestly, if this passes, that is not a terrible thing. I think it's good for us to have these resources. And I think that it's probably good that it passes with some dissent, to put an exclamation mark on the idea that we both have recognized a need and are supportive of the city attorney pursuing strategies vigorously that can put us on a stronger footing in labor relations with the Police Federation. And I think that it's very important that we express that there are some concerns. So I wanted to explain my no vote so people aren't surprised.
Thank you, Councilmember Fletcher. Council President Bender.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wondered if we could hear a bit more about this item from City Attorney's Office or the Mayor's Office. How did this conversation come about? Why this firm? Have we proactively approached other firms? I think I understand that this came through the mayor's sort of like policy tables around policing and reform, but that could be a misunderstanding. So I just wonder, how did we get here with this proposal before us today? What are the opportunities to consider potential relationships with other firms, et cetera? Thank you, Madam Chair.
Absolutely. And I will ask the city attorney if he is available to be on standby. I just want to chime in a little bit with some of my own thoughts before we hear from the city attorney and or the mayor's office if no one is available. But I just know that our labor agreement with the Police Federation is one of the most significant barriers to real reform of the Minneapolis Police Department. And I know that everybody on this council and many, many, many of our residents are in favor of such reforms, particularly around the police union. And that's what I understand is offered to be primarily focused on. And I also know that our city attorney's office has been significantly challenged, as has almost every department in the city of Minneapolis, with just larger than life caseloads and work product expectations beyond what they planned for at the beginning of 2020. And so this seems like a offer to help with some of that increased workload to this date, as well as the really pertinent issue of trying to address the Federation union contract. So with that stated, I will invite the city attorney to talk about how we got to this juncture.
Can you hear me, Chair Jenkins?
Mr. Router, yes, welcome.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Chair Jenkins, and council members. I'm at a bit of a disadvantage as to the origins of how this first began, because as far as I understand it, it began before I started in my role on August 24th. And about, I would just say about 2 weeks into my role, I started to hear about the general offer that was being made to help the city in this field by this firm, and certainly by the local office of this firm here in Minneapolis. Once I was able to fully, or at least enough, understand what was being considered and what was being offered, I decided that I thought the best course of action would be that I engage with the partner in the local office here is Andy Luber, the former U.S. Attorney for the District of Minnesota, and somebody that certainly was very integral in, I think, bringing this offer of support from the national firm, Jones Day. And I had some good and very frank, direct conversation with him about what my expectations would be about how the arrangement would work. And from the beginning, it was my intent that this should be no different than any other piece of outside legal expertise that the city attorney's office would utilize in the work that we do for the city. And I was also very cognizant of the fact that, in my estimation, the amount of resource and skill set that we have to address just broadly even the area of labor relations, certainly complex labor relations issues related to the Police Federation, as well as some other areas, particularly in a time of crisis, multiple crises. We are thinly resourced. I feel fortunate that I come to my job with a long experience in labor and employment work, and originally having been an attorney for the National Labor Relations Board. But you know, 1, 2, or maybe 3 people within the city structure trying to manage what is on our plate today and into the future, certainly next year, is not going to put the city in the strongest position that I would like to see it be in. So I was very motivated to make sure that we could not only be open to the offer that was put before us, but to make sure that it worked in a way that would put the city attorney's office not only in direct and accountable control of that work, but more simply to just be able to tap into this as a resource, to use as a tool as much or as little that we need to at times as we go through the foreseeable challenges in this particular space of our practice. The people from my team put together the agreement, and while I could say it was negotiated with Jones Day, I would tell you Jones Day made little or no changes to what we proposed as a working agreement. And so then here we are today, trying to be able to take advantage of this resource and really get to the work that I think a lot of people, both on this council and in this city, would like to see us embark upon, and be successful and give us the confidence that we can put our best foot forward and get the outcomes that I think we would all like to see. And I certainly can answer any more specific questions along those lines. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Router. Are there any other questions or comments for the city attorney? Councilmember Ellison.
I don't have any questions for the city attorney. We've had a lot of great conversations about this item. I did, like my previous colleagues, just want to say that, you know, while I'm am confident in the city attorney's work on this proposal and in shaping the agreement. I think that there's a few things that maybe I didn't have time to do due diligence on in terms of seeing what other options we could have. I know a big part of why we might accept some help from a more mercenary firm is because they're offering this help pro bono, and I think that that's not lost on any of us. But I think that there are firms maybe who have a proactive interest in police accountability that I'd love to maybe a little bit of time to maybe engage with before making sort of a final decision here, which is not to say we shouldn't make a decision today, but it's just to say that I don't feel ready to affirmatively support this item and this partnership with Jones Day in particular. That being said, should we move forward and should the council be moving forward, I'm perfectly willing to engage with this process. I think that my constituents, all of our constituents, expect us to. But just to let my colleagues know why I won't be supporting this.
Thank you, Councilmember Ellison. I see the city attorney has requested to speak to the council. Mr. Router.
Thank you, Chair Jenkins. And to Councilmember Ellison, I appreciate the conversations we've had about this, and I certainly appreciate your position. The one thing I just would want to maybe point out for everybody is two things. One, the agreement is structured in a sense that there's no obligation, and it does not give some area of exclusivity to this space in terms of the pro bono work being offered. And we certainly could continue to look at opportunities for other sources of pro bono help in this space, and I'm certainly very open to that and would not look disfavorably on that at all. I just wanted to make sure that we all understood that this is help that is available to us to use, and it is in no way would preclude us from utilizing some other opportunities that could present themselves down the road. The one thing I would say is, I can honestly say there's certainly not a line of people outside our door offering some significant and timely help like this, and without naming names, we've already had one prominent local major law firm publicly disavow working with the city attorney's office and by extension the city earlier this summer. So it's not to say that there can't be other opportunities, and I certainly would love to find those other opportunities. And if we do, I would say that there's nothing in this arrangement that would keep us from tapping into that. But thank you.
Mr. Router, can you just speak to the level of oversight and involvement that you and or your staff would have if this offer was accepted by the city?
Yes, thank you, Chair Jenkins. I don't know how else to put it, but to say we would have absolute control and oversight, and I certainly have made it clear to members of the council that I've had conversation with that I would intend to manage this type of legal work in the same manner that I would manage other outside legal work that the city attorney office would engage in, but no different from my past experience of having been the head of the labor and employment work at Target for 26 years. I've always seen an outside lawyer doing work under my direction or my team's direction as a direct extension of us as lawyers. And we all take that, I've learned very well at the city attorney's office, take that very seriously. And so there would be no other way to approach, I think, the management of this work, is that it would be under our direct and very careful stewardship. All I can do is say that that's how I've managed the legal work in the past. I believe, quite frankly, even before me, the city attorney's office would manage their outside legal work in the same manner. And this is certainly something we are passionate about in terms of how we go about getting that work done and how we represent the city.
Thank you again. I see that Councilmember Gordon has some comments in the chat. Did you want to speak to those for the public, Councilmember Gordon?
I did. I at least wanted to read this potential draft. So this is a little bit maybe of a sharing work product before it's all finalized, which I alluded to, stuff that I was working on, a possible staff direction. So one of the ideas is to direct the city attorney's office to consult with the Police Conduct Oversight Commission and work related to public safety, policing, and police department policy improvements. I think a lot of this might already be on the docket and being considered, but this could lend some transparency and a little bit of more public inclusion in all of these issues. I know that labor negotiations is not something that is public information, and there's a lot of things we don't necessarily want to share, but this is obviously a very important topic to the public, and it's only one piece of a much larger body of work that I believe the city attorney's office is embarking on to assist us with improving policy in the police department. So and with some consultation with the city attorney's office, this is one version of the language that we've been sharing back and forth. I expect if this passes, something close to this will come forward to the council, or I'll want to move it forward to the council. I might be open to doing it in committee here today, but I'm also open to letting it wait.
Thank you, Councilmember Gordon. And I do want to clarify at this moment, this is not a part of the pulled consent agenda item that we will be voting on.
That is correct. It is not.
Correct.
It's not in that action, and I'm not actually moving it right now unless my colleagues really want to. We could try to dig into it more.
Thank you. I mean, it only seems relevant if, in fact, this item passes. We've already heard from 4 council members who have stated their intentions, including yourself. So I think it may be appropriate to, if there are no other comments, to go ahead and call the roll. Are there any other comments or discussion on this item? Seeing none, I will now ask the clerk to call the roll on item number 19, gift acceptance from the law firm Jones Day to provide representation and engagement on labor relations issues related to the Minneapolis Police Department. Clerk.
Councilmember Rake. Gordon.
No.
Fletcher.
No.
Cunningham.
Aye.
Osman. Goodman.
Aye. Aye.
Kano. Bender.
No.
Schrader.
Aye.
Johnson. Palmisano.
Aye.
Vice Chair Ellison.
No.
Chair Jenkins.
Aye.
There are 6 ayes and 4 nays.
And that item carries. So we have dispensed with our consent agenda. And next is, before we move to the reports of our committees, we have a comment or question from Councilmember Gordon.
Oh,
Now, are you there?
yes, I am here. And I would like to move that staff direction directing the city attorney's office to consult with the Police Conduct Oversight Commission in work related to police department policy improvements. So I'm scratching a little of the words there. This is staff direction language that I believe the city attorney's office was comfortable with. Directing the city attorney's office to consult with the Police Conduct Oversight Commission and work related to police department policy improvements. I'll make that motion.
Second.
So there is a motion and a proper second. I will ask the clerk, do we have this in writing, or Councilmember Gordon, can you forward this to council members?
Madam Vice President, it's Casey. I just typed up exactly what Councilmember Gordon said. I've posted it into the chat, and I'm on my way to sending it to the tech team so that they can post it to the site. If you can just give me another minute.
Thank you so much. All right, so colleagues, we have a motion on the floor. It's been properly seconded. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? I will state that I am in support of this motion. I believe that working with the PCOC will provide another layer of oversight, as well as input that I think can be really critical to this work being proposed. And so I am in support of this staff direction. Would any of my other colleagues have any discussion? Any other discussion? Seeing none, I will ask the clerk to call the roll.
Councilmember Rake. Gordon.
Aye.
Fletcher.
Aye.
Cunningham.
Aye.
Osmond.
Aye.
Goodman.
Aye.
Kano. Bender.
Aye.
Schrader.
Aye.
Johnson. Palmisano.
Aye.
Councilmember Rake. Kano. Johnson. Vice Chair Ellison.
Aye.
Chair Jenkins.
Aye.
There are 10 ayes.
That item carries. Thank you, Councilmember Gordon, for that staff direction. So next is the report of our quasi-regularly standing committees. And first will be the Budget Committee, and that report will be provided by its chair, Councilmember Palmisano.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Sorry, I'm just taking a bite of sandwich here. As you all know,
Turnabout is fair play.
As you all know, we wrapped up our work with the 2021 budget process last week, and we did forward all of that committee's efforts to council for our final Wednesday session last week, and we adopted the budget successfully. So thank you all for your efforts and for your time and involvement in that process. We won't have anything, to my knowledge, coming through to council this cycle. And that's all I got for that one.
Thank you, Chair Palmisano. Are there any comments or questions from my colleagues?
Madam Chair, I think
I do see a comment from Clerk Carl. Mr. Carl.
Madam Vice President, I'm sorry to confuse the issue. There is one item on the budget coming forward at Friday. This is to correct a clerical error on the vote outcome of one of the resolutions. The first resolution that was acted on, which relates to 2020 property tax levies collected in 2021, had recorded Councilmember Ellison in opposition or as a no vote. In consultation with Councilmember subsequent to that evening, and after a little bit of rest, we realized that recording of his vote had been an error. In order to correct that error, we need to bring that resolution back before the council on Friday to reconsider the vote so that Councilmember Ellison can then correct his recorded vote on the property tax levies resolution. So there will be a brief revisit to that one resolution related to the 2021 budget. And I just wanted to give the council that heads up so that you were aware of that issue and it wasn't confusing to see the budget resolution back in front of council, because the council has, of course, voted and the budget has been approved by the mayor, and we are arranging to publish it. So that should be wrapped up. This is really more of a clerical piece correcting the mistaken recordation of his vote. So I don't know if Mr. Ellison wants to speak to it, but wanted to make sure the council was aware of that.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Councilmember Ellison, did you want to comment on that? I noticed it myself. I just thought you wanted to raise taxes on people or something. So I was a little confused, but if you wanted to clarify your thoughts. It was a mistake, and I don't remember voting no, but as I listened to the audio, it is unclear. So I just wanted to make sure that it was very clear, and we were getting late into the night, and so maybe in I was dozing off or something, but definitely did not mean to vote no, and didn't think I had, but thanks to Casey for talking me through that, and I'm happy to sort of remedy the error. No, I'm really glad to hear that. I very audibly heard you say no, but it was, like I said, it was a little surprising. So I'm really glad to see this action coming back. Our next committee report then will be the Business Inspections, Housing and Zoning Committee, or the BIZ Committee, and that report will be given by its chair, Councilmember Goodman.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. I really love your backdrop, by the way.
Thank you.
We're bringing 25 items forward for approval on Friday. Items 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 are all land sales. I will note that item number 1's land sale was especially emotional and really incredible testimony. And I think everyone on the committee felt really good about the land sales that came in this packet of land sales. So thank you to staff. Item number 2 is denying a CUP variance appeal for a project at 4207 Nicollet. Item 7 are the liquor license approvals, and 8 are the liquor license renewals. Item 9 is extending exclusive development rights for AECOM at 800 Washington Avenue South. Items 10 and 11 are forgivable loan write-offs for the Worth Co-op grocery store, as well as to Elamine Enterprises at the Fish House. Item number 12 is the refinancing and financial modifications for East Village North and East Village South apartments. Item 13 is a loan agreement with Kente Circle. Item 14 are a large number of Pathways grant agreements. These are based on community-based workforce development activities. Item 15 is a large package of Great Streets 2020 business support grant agreements. Item 16 is a comprehensive plan amendment as it pertains to the Alina Transportation Hub at 28th and Chicago. Item 17 is the Fall 2020 Hennepin County TOD grant program applications. Item 18 are a large number of Minneapolis Advisory Committee on Housing appointments. Item number 19 is a rezoning for North Bay Companies at 1316 7th Street Southeast. Item 20 is a rezoning and alley vacation at 416 and 420 Hennepin Avenue East. Item 21 are changes to our emergency shelter regulations. This has to do with allowing this use in industrial districts. Item 22 is a massive body of work. This is the Mississippi River Corridor Critical Area Plan Ordinance. Item number 23 is the culmination of a year's worth of work by more than 10 staff people in housing. These are the 2020 Affordable Housing Trust Fund Award recommendations. Item 24 is the preliminary reservation of our 2021 9% housing tax credits. And item number 25 is also the culmination of a lot of work that has to do with the built form policies as we implement the 2040 ordinance. With that, I am happy to answer any questions about any of those items.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Wow, that is quite an agenda. Councilmember Schrader.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to talk about the last item. I just want to kind of alert my colleagues that I'll be bringing forward an amendment that clarifies that projects led by the Minneapolis Public Housing Authority can qualify for the affordability premium that we just passed out of committee. Also want to thank my co-authors on that with Councilmember Gordon and Councilmember Reich. I know a lot of work went into, making sure we had these premiums right, that it really reflected the goals of 2040, especially around affordability. So with this pretty much technical amendment, it will explicitly state that MPHA and its affiliates, which may include limited partnerships for tax credit purposes, also have access to this affordability premium. Just look forward to making sure this affordability policy is as clear as it can be, and that it delivers as much affordability and public benefit as possible. I'm happy to answer any questions, and also email out the language to my colleagues as well.
Thank you, Councilmember Schrader. Are there any questions? Councilmember Gordon.
That's not really a question, or I don't really have a question on that matter. I just wanted to give a heads up also, and I mentioned this in committee too. I'm working on a staff direction, and really it's probably to modify a planning commission staff direction related to number 22, which was the Mississippi River Corridor Critical Area Plan. There were some amendments that I was thinking of making in discussions with staff. I realized that we weren't really ready to make those yet. Mostly has to do with bird safe lighting and habitat, and also bird safe building issues, which the Planning Commission also asked about, at least in part. So you can expect that to be coming forward at the committee meeting, and I'll make sure to send out language to everybody prior to that.
Thank you, Councilmember. Next, we have Council President Bender.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll say more on Friday, but I just wanted to say thanks to the authors and staff who worked on the built form overlay. It is a huge deal, a huge accomplishment to bring our zoning code into alignment with the Minneapolis 2040 comprehensive plan in such an efficient period of time, with an enormous amount of thought to detail, an innovative citywide policy approach that is really moving us toward these policy goals of race equity, of access in housing, housing stability, environmental sustainability, concentrating housing and destinations near transit, all of those policy things that were really driving the 2040 plan conversations come to life in the exciting world of zoning. So thank you to everyone who has championed this, and the planning commissioners who are all volunteers who put an enormous amount of time and effort into this, and to the staff as well.
Thank you, President Bender. I'll just reiterate, this is a very substantial agenda being brought forth by this committee, and I recognize that it is a combined committee, but still it is bringing forth some really significant and important actions this cycle. So kudos to all who have worked on this. Any other comments on this report? Seeing none, our next committee report is the Public Health and Safety Committee, given by its chair, Councilmember Cunningham.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Public Health and Safety Committee will be bringing forward 10 items for approval on Friday. The first is accepting a grant from the Minnesota Department of Health for enhancing influenza vaccination coverage as a part of COVID-19 response work. Item number 2 is accepting a grant from the Minnesota Department of Health to work in partnership with the Minneapolis Health Department to address areas of public health responsibility and essential public health services. Item number 3 our council and mayoral appointments to the Public Health Advisory Committee. Briefly, I will suggest for my colleagues to please check out the RCA and the public, the RCA for this item, because you will see a blurb about each of the folks. We're very fortunate to have their volunteer time for the city, bringing a lot of great expertise. Item number 4 is authorizing an increase with the contract with Dial Group for Changemakers Apprenticeship Program, which provides underserved people of color in Minneapolis with a high-quality leadership program, training them to leverage art, culture, and creativity to solve community problems. Item number 5 is approving mayoral and council appointments to the Minneapolis Workplace Advisory Committee. Item number 6 is accepting a sexual assault kit initiative grant from the U.S. Department of Justice in the amount of $2 million to determine the DNA analysis of backlogged sexual assault evidence kits, support victim contact, case investigation, and prosecution of cases indicated by the new DNA evidence. Item number 7 is passage of a resolution that amends a previous resolution committing to donate 2 fire trucks to Minneapolis sister city, Cuernavaca, Mexico, removing the reference to the year when the equipment will be donated. Obviously, we were not able to do that this year. Item number 8 is approving a change to the geographic area where Northern Metals LLC settlement funds for health education and mitigation strategy around lead poisoning and asthma can be spent. And item number 9 is approving council and mayoral appointments to the Police Conduct Review Panel. And item number 10 is approving mayoral and council appointments to the Police Conduct Oversight Commission. For my colleagues and the public, for items number 10 and 11, we had a brief presentation and answered some questions about the work of the Police Conduct Review Panel, as well as the Police Conduct Oversight Commission, as well as the appointment process. And we got to hear a little bit more about each of the appointees. So recommend for folks to be able to check that out. It's available on YouTube. Thank you. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Chair Cunningham. Are there other questions? Any questions? Are there any questions? Seeing none, we will move to our next committee report, the Transportation and Public Works Committee. That report will be given by Councilmember Fletcher today in Councilmember Wright's absence.
Thank you, Chair Jenkins. The Transportation and Public Works Committee is bringing through 13 items for council approval. The first is project approval, assessment, and areaway abandonment for Plymouth Avenue North from Xerxes to Penn, street reconstruction. Item number 2 is a contract amendment for cleaning and lining of water mains. Item number 3 is a contract amendment with Meyer Contracting for North Loop Street Reconstruction Project to finish up the award-winning North Loop Street Reconstruction Project. Item number 4 is a contract amendment with SM Henkes & Sons for 28th Avenue South Bridge Replacement Project. Item number 5 is a contract amendment with PCI Roads for 20-inch drain line vault project at Columbia Heights Filter Plant. Item number 6 is approving appointments to the Pedestrian Advisory Committee. Item number 7 is approving appointments to the Bicycle Advisory Committee. Item number 8 is the 2021 Street Resurfacing Program, project designation, cost estimate, and setting public hearings. Item number 9 is the Whittier-Lyndale Protected Bikeway Project. Item number 10 is a cooperative agreement with Hennepin County for the 6th Street Safety Project. Item number 11 is a cooperative agreement with Hennepin County for the 7th Street Safety Project. Item number 12 is passage of a resolution expressing the city's priorities to MnDOT for the Rethinking I-94 project. And item number 13 is a bid for the Lower St. Anthony Falls Lock and Dam Water Service Relocation Project. I'm happy to stand for questions.
Thank you, Councilmember Fletcher. Are there any questions? Are there any questions? Seeing none, we will move to the next committee report, the Audit Committee, given by its chair, Councilmember Palmisano.
Thank you, Madam Chair. At Audit Committee this past week, we received the grant administration process report for the Minneapolis Park and Recreation Board, considered it, received, filed, and published it, and also received a regular report from internal auditor on other audits in progress. There's nothing to bring forward to this Friday's meeting as an action item at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Palmisano. Are there any questions? Are there any questions? Our last committee report is the Executive Committee report, and that will be given by Council President Bender.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Sorry, I was on mute. Let's see. The Executive Committee had just pulling up my report here. So not for action, but of note for my colleagues, we had a report about how to create an inclusive holiday environment for city employees that may be of interest to council members. And then the actions we took were the interim designation of both the city planning and the community planning and economic development director, as well as the interim city assessor. Those are the actions from exec.
Thank you so much, Council President Bender. And I put myself in queue, but if other colleagues have any questions or comments, I'm happy to defer. And any questions? Well, I just wanted to comment on the first item that you mentioned that we discussed at the Executive Committee, which was a discussion around the potential of holidays. And, you know, one of the holidays that we are discussing, it's really a discussion around floating holidays, but also I think, how do we as a city begin to think about Juneteenth as a holiday? And so I just wanted to make sure that we are lifting this conversation up to a broader level. It really is, I think, something that we should be taking seriously as a city, as I know that other entities, institutions, governmental bodies are considering adding or acknowledging Juneteenth as an official holiday, recognizing the emancipation of African American descendants of slaves, and so just wanted to highlight that conversation, that it is a discussion that's happening at the Executive Committee level, and hopefully will be a broader discussion amongst the full council in the future. And with that, we have dispensed with our, Council President Bender.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thanks for adding that detail. I meant to mention that we also do receive regular reports, as we did this cycle, about the hiring freeze waiver. And we had some discussion about this in Executive Committee. So the hiring freeze waiver process will stay in place for 2021. It wasn't used to balance the budget, but will be used for future cost savings. I did pull together a meeting of council leadership and budget committee leadership, along with the city coordinator and finance, to talk about the hiring freeze waiver process. I have some concerns in just understanding how the hiring freeze waiver process is contributing to the values that we have as a city around race equity and gender equity and retention, or not. And just understanding how the process is working. You know, how departments decide whether or not to submit a waiver in the first place, how they're being reviewed. So I'll just flag that as well. I think I mentioned that during the budget process, that there are significant decisions about staffing being made through a somewhat arbitrary process of who, where are there vacancies within the enterprise. And then of course, this very specific process of the hiring freeze waivers. But I do just want us to always be conscious of, especially the equity impacts of our enterprise staffing related decisions. And so it's been a topic of conversation at executive committee as it relates to the hiring freeze. We do also get these more technical summaries of the number of waivers and what has been approved and not at those committees, if anyone is interested. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you again, Council President Bender. And with that, we have dispensed with our entire agenda and concluded the business to come before this committee today. And consequently, we are adjourned. Thank you.